If you've been living with type 2 diabetes or you've been told your blood sugar is a little high and you're not sure what to do about it, I need you to stay right here because what I'm about to share with you could genuinely change the way you manage your health every single day. Most people over 60 are doing everything they think is right, taking their medication, watching their portions, trying to stay active, and yet their blood sugar is still all over the place and their doctor keeps saying the numbers aren't where they need to be and nobody is telling them why. Well, today that changes because there are 7 specific foods that act almost exactly like medicine inside your body, and they work in ways that most people, including a lot of doctors, never take the time to explain to their patients. And I am here to change that for you right now. I'm Dr. Sarah Brooks. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years, and today I dedicate my work entirely to helping seniors live healthier, longer lives. And in all my years of working with patients over 60, I have never seen anything more frustrating than watching someone struggle with blood sugar when the answer was sitting right in their kitchen the whole time. So let's get into this together. Here's something that might shock you. According to the American Diabetes Association, more than 37 million Americans are living with diabetes right now, and nearly 96 million more have prediabetes. And the majority of them are over the age of 60. That means if you're watching this, there is an overwhelming chance that either you or someone you love is dealing with this exact problem today. And here's the part that nobody talks about enough. Uncontrolled blood sugar doesn't just cause fatigue and thirst. It silently damages your kidneys, your eyes, your nerves, and your heart every single day that it goes unchecked. And by the time the damage becomes obvious, it can already be very difficult to reverse. This is not something you can afford to wait on, and every single day truly does matter when it comes to protecting your health at this stage of life. But here's the good news, and I want you to hold on to this because it matters deeply. Your body is not broken. It is asking for help, and today we are going to answer that call with real food, real science, and real solutions that you can start using as soon as today. If any of this sounds familiar to you, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button right now because it helps other seniors find this information and it genuinely means a lot to me and to this community. Now, before I get to the 7 foods, I need to explain something that most people don't fully understand about blood sugar and why it becomes so difficult to control after the age of 60 specifically. When we're young, our cells respond very efficiently to insulin. That's the hormone your pancreas makes to help sugar move from your blood into your cells where it can be used as energy. But as we get older, our cells start to become less responsive to insulin, and this is called insulin resistance. And it is at the heart of almost every blood sugar problem in people over 60. Your pancreas might still be making insulin, but your cells have started to ignore the signal, and so sugar just keeps building up in your bloodstream instead of being used properly, and that is when all the dangerous complications begin. The beautiful thing about the 7 foods I'm about to share with you is that each one of them, in its own unique and powerful way, helps restore that sensitivity, helps your cells listen to insulin again, and helps bring your blood sugar back to a healthier range. And some of them do it so effectively that researchers have actually compared their impact to that of common diabetes medications. I'm not making that up. The science is there, and I'm going to walk you through every single bit of it. So let's start with the very first food on our list, and this one might actually surprise you because it's something most Americans already have in their kitchen and probably don't think of as medicine at all. The first food is cinnamon, and I know what you might be thinking. Cinnamon, really? But stay with me because the research on this spice is genuinely remarkable. Studies published in leading medical journals have shown that cinnamon contains active compounds called cinnamaldehyde and polyphenols that mimic insulin in the body and help your cells absorb glucose more effectively. One major study found that just half a teaspoon of cinnamon per day reduced fasting blood sugar levels by up to 29% in people with type 2 diabetes. And that is not a small number. That is the kind of improvement that would make your doctor sit up and take notice at your next appointment. What cinnamon does from a physiological standpoint is it activates certain proteins in your cells that act like a key turning a lock. They make your cell receptors more responsive to insulin so that when insulin arrives with blood sugar in tow, the cell actually opens up and accepts it instead of turning it away. I remember a patient of mine, a 68-year-old man from Tennessee named Robert, who had been struggling with his fasting blood sugar for years, despite being very careful about his diet. and he started adding cinnamon to his morning oatmeal and his coffee every single day. And within 6 weeks, his numbers had improved so noticeably that his doctor reduced his medication dose. Now, I am not telling you to stop taking your medication. Always talk to your doctor before making any changes to your treatment. Andar. But I'm telling you that this simple spice has real, measurable power in your body, and you should absolutely be using it. The easiest way to use cinnamon is to add it to your morning oatmeal, your coffee, your smoothie, or even sprinkle it on a sweet potato, which is also on our list today, by the way. You can find Ceylon cinnamon, which is the purest and most effective form, at any Whole Foods, most Walmarts, or your local health food store, and it is inexpensive and widely available across America. Now let's move to food number two. And this one is something I talk about with nearly every single patient I see over 60 because its impact on blood sugar is so profound and so well documented that I genuinely believe every senior in America should be eating it regularly. I'm talking about bitter melon. And yes, I know it's not as common in American kitchens as cinnamon, but it is available at most Asian grocery stores and increasingly at larger supermarkets and farmers markets, especially in states like California, Florida, and Texas, and it is worth every bit of effort to find it. Bitter melon contains at least three active substances with anti-diabetic properties, including one called charantin, which has been shown in research to lower blood glucose levels, and another compound called polypeptide P, which actually functions like plant-based insulin inside the human body. A study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology found that bitter melon juice significantly reduced blood sugar levels in people with type 2 diabetes, and the mechanism is fascinating. It increases the uptake of glucose in your muscles and liver while also suppressing the amount of glucose that your liver releases into the bloodstream, which is a 1-2 punch that very few natural foods can claim. If you can find fresh bitter melon, you can slice it thin and stir fry it with garlic and olive oil, which is actually delicious once you get used to the slightly bitter taste. You can also find bitter melon capsules or powder at most health food stores if the fresh version isn't available in your area. And that brings us to food number three, which is one that most American seniors already know and love. And I am so happy to tell you that science has completely validated what our grandmothers probably already suspected. I'm talking about garlic, beautiful, powerful, humble garlic that has been used as medicine for thousands of years and is now backed by dozens of modern studies confirming its remarkable effects on blood sugar. The active compound in garlic is called allicin, and research has shown that allicin improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation in the blood vessels, and even has a direct hypoglycemic effect, meaning it actively lowers blood glucose levels on its own. One study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that patients with type 2 diabetes who consumed garlic daily experienced significant reductions in fasting blood sugar compared to those who didn't. And the effect was particularly strong in people over 60 whose insulin resistance was more established. From a practical standpoint, garlic is one of the easiest things in the world to add to your daily meals. You can add it to soups, stir it into olive oil for dipping bread, roast it whole until it becomes sweet and creamy, or even take it raw if you're feeling brave. The key is to crush or chop the garlic and let it sit for about 10 minutes before cooking it, because that waiting period allows the allicin to fully activate, and that's when its medicinal power really kicks in, and this is a small detail that makes a big difference. You can find garlic at literally any grocery store in America, from your local corner market to Walmart to Whole Foods, and it costs almost nothing, which makes it one of the most accessible natural medicines on this entire list. Now, I want to give you something really practical right here in the middle of our conversation because I believe the best health advice is advice you can actually use starting today. So, here is what I call Dr. Brooks's blood sugar morning protocol. And this is something I've shared with hundreds of my patients over the years with wonderful results. Every morning before breakfast, take 1 cup of warm water and add half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and the juice of half a lemon and 1 teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar. Stir it well and drink it slowly before you eat anything. Apple cider vinegar deserves its own mention here because research from Arizona State University showed that drinking diluted apple cider vinegar before a high carbohydrate meal reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 34%. And the mechanism is that the acetic acid in vinegar slows down the digestion of carbohydrates so that sugar enters your bloodstream more gradually instead of all at once, which is exactly what you want to avoid, those dangerous spikes and crashes. This morning drink takes about 2 minutes to make, uses ingredients you can find at any CVS, Walgreens, or Walmart, and it sets your metabolism up for a more stable blood sugar day from the very first hour. Thousands of people have told me this simple ritual changed their mornings completely, and I encourage you to try it for just 2 weeks and see what happens. Now, let's get into food number four, and this one is a beloved staple of American cooking that I am thrilled to tell you is actually incredibly powerful for blood sugar management, and that food is sweet potatoes. Now, I know some people with diabetes are told to avoid all starchy vegetables, and while it's true that portion size matters, sweet potatoes are fundamentally different from regular white potatoes in ways that are deeply important for blood sugar. Sweet potatoes have a lower glycemic index than white potatoes, which means they cause a much more gradual rise in blood sugar rather than a sharp spike. And they are loaded with a type of fiber called soluble fiber that slows the absorption of glucose in your digestive tract, which again means a gentler, more manageable effect on your blood sugar levels. They are also packed with magnesium. And this is crucial because research has shown that up to 48% of people with type 2 diabetes are deficient in magnesium. And magnesium is essential for insulin function, meaning without enough of it, your cells literally cannot respond properly to insulin no matter what you do. A medium sweet potato baked in the oven takes about 45 minutes, costs less than $1, and gives your body a wealth of blood sugar supporting nutrients, including vitamin B6, potassium, and the powerful antioxidant beta carotene, which reduces the oxidative stress that damages cells in people with diabetes over time. One of my patients, a 74-year-old retired teacher from Georgia named Margaret, told me that switching from white rice and white bread to sweet potatoes as her main carbohydrate source was the single most impactful dietary change she made, and her A1C, which is the 3-month average blood sugar measurement, dropped by a full point within just 4 months, which was enough to move her from the diabetic range back into the pre diabetic range. That is an extraordinary result from one simple food swap. This is also a great moment to remind you to hit that thumbs up if this information is valuable to you. It helps us reach more seniors who need to hear this, and I am grateful for every single one of you who is part of this community. Now, food number five is one that has been making headlines in the medical world for the last decade, and the research behind it is so compelling that I want to spend a little extra time on it because I think it deserves it. I'm talking about blueberries, those small, beautiful, deeply colored berries that are available fresh in summer at every farmer's market and grocery store across America and available frozen all year round, which is just as nutritious and often even more convenient. Blueberries are packed with a class of antioxidants called anthocyanins, and these compounds do something truly remarkable in the body of a person with diabetes. They improve insulin sensitivity in your fat cells and your muscle cells. They reduce inflammation in your blood vessels, which is a major driver of diabetic complications. And they protect your pancreatic beta cells. Those are the cells that actually produce your insulin from oxidative damage, which means blueberries are literally helping preserve your insulin production capacity over time. Research from Harvard Medical School found that people who ate 2 or more servings of blueberries per week had a 23% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And for those who already have diabetes, the anti-inflammatory effects of blueberries help protect the kidneys and eyes, which are the organs most vulnerable to long-term blood sugar damage. A half cup of blueberries added to your morning oatmeal or Greek yogurt is all it takes to start getting these benefits. And when you combine them with cinnamon, as we talked about earlier, you are creating a breakfast that is genuinely working for your blood sugar in 2 separate and complementary ways at the same time. And if you want access to exclusive, deeper content, including my complete 30-day blood sugar reset meal plan, additional home remedies, and more personalized health guides, I want to invite you to become a member of this channel, where I share even more detailed information just for our community of dedicated health-conscious seniors. It's a wonderful group of people who are all supporting each other on this journey, and it would mean so much to me to have you there. Now, let me tell you about food number six. And this is one that I feel very passionately about because it is so misunderstood in the context of diabetes, and so many of my patients were actually afraid of it before I explained the science, and that food is beans, specifically black beans, kidney beans, lentils, and chickpeas. And I want you to think of them not as just a side dish, but as one of the most powerful blood sugar medicines in your entire grocery store. Beans are extraordinary for blood sugar control for multiple reasons. And let me walk you through them because understanding the why is what will actually motivate you to make the change. First, beans have an exceptionally low glycemic index, lower than almost any other carbohydrate containing food, which means they cause one of the gentlest, most gradual rises in blood sugar of any food you can eat, which is exactly what a person with diabetes needs at every single meal. Second, beans are rich in both soluble and insoluble fiber, and the soluble fiber specifically forms a thick gel in your digestive tract that slows the absorption of all the carbohydrates in your meal, not just the ones from the beans themselves. So, when you eat beans alongside other foods, their protective effect extends to everything on your plate. Third, and this is the part that genuinely amazes me every time I explain it, beans contain a compound called resistant starch, which your digestive enzymes cannot break down in the small intestine, and instead it travels to the large intestine where it feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And when those bacteria are healthy and thriving, they produce short chain fatty acids that improve insulin sensitivity throughout your entire body. This is the gut blood sugar connection that researchers have only recently begun to fully understand, and it explains why people who eat beans regularly, consistently have better blood sugar control than those who don't even, when everything else about their diet is similar. I recommend adding half a cup to 1 cup of beans to your lunch or dinner at least 4 times per week, and you can use canned beans, which are perfectly nutritious as long as you rinse them well to reduce the sodium, and you can find them for about $1 a can at any grocery store in America. Now, we have arrived at food number 7, and I've saved this one for last because in my 20 years of medical practice, I believe it is the most underrated and most powerful food on this entire list for people over 60 with blood sugar issues, and that food is oatmeal. But not just any oatmeal and not prepared in just any way. And I want to be very specific with you here because the details matter enormously. I am talking about steel cut oats or old fashioned rolled oats, not the instant flavored packets, which are often loaded with added sugar and have had most of their fiber processed away. The reason whole oats are so powerful for blood sugar is primarily due to a specific type of soluble fiber called beta glucan, which has been studied extensively and shown in multiple clinical trials to significantly reduce fasting, blood sugar levels, reduce post meal blood sugar spikes, and improve insulin sensitivity over time with consistent consumption. Beta glucan works by forming a viscous gel in your digestive system that slows the movement of food through your intestines and the absorption of glucose into your blood. And the effect is so reliable and so well documented that the FDA has actually approved a specific health claim for oat beta glucan and its role in reducing the risk of heart disease, which is directly connected to blood sugar management in people with diabetes. A study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating oatmeal twice a day for just 4 weeks significantly reduced HbA1c levels. That's the long term blood sugar average in people with type 2 diabetes, and the effect was even stronger in people over 60, which suggests that our bodies are particularly responsive to this kind of intervention as we age. The way I recommend preparing oats for maximum blood sugar benefit is to cook them in water or unsweetened almond milk. Add your half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon that we talked about earlier. Top with a handful of blueberries and a tablespoon of chopped walnuts, because walnuts contain omega 3 fatty acids that also reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. And if you need a little sweetness, add just a small drizzle of raw honey rather than sugar. What you have created in that bowl is a breakfast that contains 4 separate blood sugar fighting mechanisms, all working simultaneously in your body. And that kind of synergy is exactly what makes the difference between a meal that spikes your glucose and one that keeps it beautifully, gently stable for hours. Now, I want to take a moment and talk to you honestly about something because I've had this conversation with so many patients over the years, and I want to have it with you too. Managing blood sugar after 60 is not about perfection. It's not about never eating anything you love or turning every meal into a medical procedure. It's about building a foundation of habits and foods that work with your body's biology instead of against it, and doing that consistently over time is what creates real change. I've seen patients in their late 70s who came to me with blood sugar numbers that frightened both of us, and within 6 months of making changes, like the ones we've discussed today, they were in a genuinely healthier place. More energy, better sleep, fewer complications, and a deep sense of pride and empowerment that they were taking care of themselves. You deserve to feel good at every age, and I mean that with everything I have. Now, let me share with you something I saw just last year that I think about often. A 72-year-old woman named Dorothy from a small town in North Carolina came to see me after her endocrinologist told her she might need to start insulin injections because her oral medications weren't controlling her blood sugar well enough anymore. Dorothy was terrified. She told me with tears in her eyes that she didn't want to be dependent on injections for the rest of her life, and she asked me if there was anything else she could try. I sat with her for a long time and we talked through a complete nutritional overhaul based on the exact foods I've shared with you today, and I asked her to give me 3 months of her best effort. Dorothy was disciplined and motivated, and she came back 3 months later with blood work that genuinely made both of us emotional. Her fasting blood sugar had dropped by over 40 points. Her HbA1c had improved significantly, and her doctor agreed to delay the conversation about insulin entirely. I'm not promising that result for everyone because every body is different and medical situations vary enormously. And please always work with your doctor. But I am telling you that food is medicine, and the science behind these 7 foods is real and powerful and available to you right now.